Harvesting Comfrey, butchering it. An update to the JADAM JLF liquid fertilizer and its progress, and a very special response for a very special commenter on a previous video. And how Comfrey may not be so perfect after all. And it disappointed me. It failed me. Even with all its wonderful attributes and benefits that it provides us. These are the things that we're going to talk about today in this video. So stick around. I'm going to grab a seat and we'll talk about this. So first up is I had gotten asked why in the world would I go ahead and butcher my comfrey when I went to harvest it such as I did. Well, I didn't know that there is another way, or people went about it differently, or if it's better or not. I've just always harvested my comfrey the same way, and I have never had any issues. So I'm going to show you right here. We're going to go down here, and these are the very two plants that we harvested for the previous video of making JADAM JLF or homemade liquid fertilizer. These are the two plants down here by the road 6 days after we harvested them. Looking pretty good and looking pretty healthy, as they always do. And here are the three up here by the cabin, again 6 days later, after cutting them down and utilize them to make that liquid fertilizer. So let's take a look again down here by the road, those same two plants. 12 days later, this is the growth of them, and they've already went to go flowering once again. Same thing up here by the cabin. The three plants that we took 12 days later, and they as well have went to flowering. So you see, folks, this is the way I've always done it, and I've never had no problems. And they always come back so strong. Now, some people say that you can do this 2 to 3 times a year. I'm going to tell you right now, I have definitely harvested my comfrey more than 3 times within a season. So I thought I would take the time and go ahead and show an update of the progress of that very liquid fertilizer that we utilized all them comfrey plants. We took 5 comfrey plants. I will say that the day after that we started that liquid fertilizer, that I had incorporated approximately 12 beet tops that were about 12 to 15 inches in height. Stems, leaves, and all, chopped it up and included it into that container. We had no intentions of utilizing those beets. They are going to be utilized for something else this fall. And we had already harvested, dehydrated, and put into powder form all the beet leaves that we wanted for nutritional value into smoothies and soups. So that has been included. A couple days after that, I went ahead and harvested 2 more comfrey plants down to the ground, chopped them up, and included them into the container as well. That's what it consists of. So here, let's take a look at it. Here we are 6 days later after I had done this and started this fertilizer. If we open up again, right here, this is 12 days later after we had done so. So, if you remember, if you did catch that video, I had made mention about when you can start to utilize it. And I said when that clear water starts to caramelize in color, like the consistency of tea or coffee, it's ready to start utilizing. But you have to take into consideration that it is suggested the longer it sits or ages, the better it becomes. So there's an update of the liquid fertilizer 6 days later, which it could probably already start to be put into use, and then 12 days later. All right, now let's take care of our special commenter with a special response, as I said I would. This commenter left a comment for the video, the previous video of making the JADAM JLF homemade liquid fertilizer. And that comment came out within minutes of the posting of that video. So who is the commenter? Well, they are going by the username of Fuzzy Wuzzy. Now, I suspect that it is a corporate paid propagandist or a disinformationalist trying to cause confusion, fear, or doubt into the subject matter or the information that I was sharing in that video. Why? Because they wish to continue to put the same type of stuff into a bottle and sell it to you for $50, $80, or $100+ And I realize some people out there are going to try to make some comments about people wearing tinfoil hats. I'm going to tell you right now, this stuff is real. And I've got about 23 years of federal government and military service behind me. I'm telling you, this is a real thing. You have lobbyists lobbying Google, lobbying YouTube, just like they lobby up in Washington District of Corporations. Okay? It's a real thing. Especially when you can make this stuff for literally nothing to free. So, I have since received some information that someone believes that the person behind the username of Fuzzy Wuzzy is actually another YouTuber who seeks to discredit, hinder, slow down the potential growth or progress of the channel 3 Basket Living. I don't know. But if that is the case, let me tell you this. I don't care, okay? I don't care, and you're already too late. Because with my minimal hopes, the channel has already far exceeded my expectations or my anticipations, coming from a guy like me who has zero social media, who is not joining any social cliquish, groupie kind of stuff out there. I'm just doing my thing, all right? So I don't care. I actually get a kick out of every single video that comes out within minutes. These 2 and 3 thumbs down on every video. I don't care. If I have 12 subscribers, followers, or 12 views on any given video that I put out there, and one falls by the wayside, betrays, and I'm left with 11. Do you understand the power, the influence, the impact that just 11 people can have in this world, even thousands of years later? I'm not worried, and I don't care, because I do not serve the same master as so many others seem to serve. So, I'm going to put this comment up here. Fuzzy Wuzzy, whoever it is, I think it needs to be addressed. So I'm going to put the comment up here for you all to see. And we're going to dissect this thing real quick. Starts off, why is there always some egghead like this? Well, first of all, it's been a while since I've been in school. But it seems like I remember, I don't know, maybe as far back as high school, maybe even junior high, through some health class or biology class or something like that. Wasn't there like 3 or 4 basic shapes to the human skull or head? I didn't think that I fell into the egghead shape. I think I fell into more of the round or square type and not the elongated, shape. I don't know. What do you folks think? I thought that was funny, though. Why would some egghead like this working out of a book? Working out of a book. By working out of a book, do you mean reading, learning, following, taking into consideration the information that somebody else has taken the time to write down or type via their own opinions and thoughts and ideas, their experiences, their analysis? and have it published in what we call a book, if it's being suggestive that there's something wrong with learning or reading a book, I'm guilty. I learn and read from books. And I'd always take into consideration what is written, just like I do in articles, other people's blogs, other people's videos. I even learn from the mere face-to-face conversations that I have with people, or even over the phone. And I also have learned from comment section of other videos, and even the own videos my very own videos that I put out. But it does strike a curiosity with me, Fuzzy Wuzzy. Have you not ever attended some institutionalized educational system in your life? Did they not have books for you to read, for you to follow, to learn from? Come on, dude. Really? Think about it. Yes, I learn and follow some books. And using obvious once. Brand new containers and sprayers, telling others how to do things when it's obvious twice. He is doing it himself for the first time. Brother, sister, these containers, these 32-gallon trash cans, they are 2 years old at least. I paid like $12, $13 from one of the most famous box stores known in the world over 2 years ago. I can't help that they look okay or good in the video. I assure you they don't. The tops of the lids used to distinctly have these two different textures to them. One is nice and smooth and has this kind of shiny sheen to it. The other is a little rough. It's kind of like if you look on the side of the trash can, you have these two different textures here. One is shiny and one is not so shiny. It's got a little rougher texture. The lids don't look like that anymore. But we have to take in consideration that these trash cans, they're not utilized like your typical trash can. They're not being kicked around, thrown around, dragged around out to a curb so that the trash man can, pick them up and beat them up against the back of the trash truck in order to empty them and then throw them back up in the yard or up in your driveway. They just been sitting there, baking in the sun, under ice, under snow for over 2 years. They went through 2 winters and they haven't busted yet. The sprayers, the same thing. They are not new. I put them in the buckets. They go in the shop or they're undercover. They're not new for sure. Telling others how to do things when it's obvious he is doing it himself for the first time. I thought that I clearly and distinctly shown another batch of homemade liquid fertilizer that I have been aging and utilizing for over a year and a half, right next to the container that we were utilizing in developing a new batch with that Comfrey. I was pretty certain I did that, and I double checked, and I did. But let me tell you this. Even if that was the first batch, it would make the Comfrey batch that I did the second time. But let me share this with you. I have upgraded to these 32-gallon containers. And the reason is because I used to do this in 5-gallon buckets. Again, from the same famous box store, I bought these blue buckets with the white lids, and they didn't hold up. I had one crack from wall to wall on the bottom of the bucket. It didn't hold up, and I had another one give me a crack about midway up in a horizontal fashion. It busted on me. So, that's one reason I upgraded. The second reason is because I found the 5-gallon buckets to be a little bit more cumbersome and inconvenient, because I had to chop my media up, my plant material, the organic stuff that we place in there, into smaller pieces so that it would lay better in the bucket and I could get more in there. That was a little bit more tedious. I didn't like that. And on top of that, the amount of liquid fertilizer that I was getting out of the 5-gallon bucket wasn't able to meet my demands or need for the fertilizer. with the way I am going about building my garden soil foundation and the amount of organic material that I had been bringing into the garden. I needed more, and it wasn't being sufficed. So those are the 3 reasons that I upgraded to the 32-gallon trash can containers. Not my first time. Guarantee it, for sure. Oh, silly, silly, silly boy. Congratulations, you made muck. And without aeration, muck loaded with anaerobic bacteria that does nothing for the soil. Are you kidding me? Fuzzy Wuzzy, whoever you are, might I make a friendly and kind suggestions? Get a hold of some books. Read a few books. If you are suggesting muck, as in pond muck, which can have various different names, it is not muck. As I had previously replied to another commenter, I do not have a pond, and I didn't utilize any materials from the bottom of a pond to make this homemade liquid fertilizer. But I will tell you this, just as I already stated, that muck in the bottom of a pond is a very useful, highly nutrient-dense substance that I would love to have on hand and access to so easily and so freely. It is not pond muck. And as far as the anaerobic bacteria, oh my gosh, quit falling for the big ad propaganda bullcrap. Let me tell you this, if you don't know this, and I might have learned this from a book, either online or hard copy, do you realize that over 99% of the bacteria in your gut is anaerobic? You take it from there. Okay? Oh my goodness. So you are telling people to go organic and natural while at the same time teaching them to make early stage motor oil. Again, referring to the muck. Do you realize how long it takes for something like muck to transform into the early stage of what I'm assuming you mean crude oil? I believe, based on books and other information and studies in the scientific world, that it takes thousands upon thousands upon thousands of years for that to take place. It's kind of like, how long does it take a piece of wood to become petrified? Come on, pick up a book, Fuzzy Wuzzy. I hate idiots like this. Well, I'm the idiot. This is your comment, which you removed and deleted yourself. I'm sorry you're filled with hate. Maybe you can humble yourself, buy a few books, and be released and free of that hatred someday. Go find someone who can show you year after year results, not just claim them, or show you a few plants they swear their method worked on. Stupid. Really? People like I proclaimed and I informed people that I listen to and I follow, like Geoff Lawton, Joel Salatin, Miss Elaine Ingram, Chris Trump, Mr. Young Sang Cho, and his father, his dad, his dad. You mean people like that? That have been in this a lot longer than I have, and they also probably are more institutionalized, educated than I am, have far more knowledge and experience than I have, and by the way, have year after year results. You mean people like that? Of course. I'm in agreement with you. And I believe I suggested other people to do the same. Stupid. Well, you're right. Stupid, pretty harsh, at a bare minimum, ignorant. So, Mr. Fuzzy Wuzzy, there you go. There's your special response. Folks, if it is a disinformationalist by any means, be careful of that kind of stuff. It is real. It does exist. What was my comment? I said, you, my Fuzzy Wuzzy commenter, deserve a special response to your ignorant comment. I have given it. I gave you a little winky face. And shortly after that, the comment was deleted by the user. not by me. I don't think YouTube would have done it. There's no real cause of it. He was just giving his ignorant thoughts and opinion. So now let's get to how Comfrey failed me and disappointed me. So I do admit I have a few plants here, some beets, onions, and I'm quite surprised with all this rainfall that I keep getting that I have anything actually still seemingly alive. All right, so now Comfrey, it failed me, it disappointed me, or maybe I failed it, and you'll see what I mean, because you might find a little parental or neighborly wisdom in this. So I want to first make mention that I am a huge fan of the Comfrey plant and all the things that it brings into our lives, into our farms and homes. It's a very beneficial thing. We primarily utilize it in 3 ways here at our home. First of all, and obviously, we utilize it in making our own homemade liquid fertilizer. Second, we make Comfrey salve. As a matter of fact, we make the triple strength Comfrey salve, and Mr. Fuzzy Wuzzy, you might be interested to know that I actually learned how to do that from someone else via a video, not a book, but a video by a young gentleman, my elder gentleman down south, who has a channel here on YouTube, and he goes by the name of Old Alabama Gardener. That's how I go about doing it, with the exception of a few procedural things. Like I use a solar dehydrator. I believe he utilizes a countertop dehydrator. I think he uses olive oil. We utilize coconut oil. But that's how I learned how to do that. Imagine that. Another way that we go about utilizing the Comfrey is, like a lot of other people, through the chop and drop method and feeding back into the soil. But that's not the primary reason we do that. For me, what I have found some success, not 100% of the time, I like to tear the leaves of the Comfrey sideways in half and take that little slit, just going halfway through the leaf, and slide it over other plants that might be getting attacked from some ground crawling insects, such as slugs, because of the defensive characteristics of the Comfrey plants. With those small needle-like hairs on the leaf, and the plant itself has an impact on ground crawling insects, especially slugs. So that's what I like to do. I like to put a few leaves down there to help control that situation if it ever occurs. So it is a great benefit, and it is a great resource to have around. But I brung Comfrey into the garden and asked it to do one thing: to contribute and help me break up this hard clay ground underneath me. But I soon realized that the Comfrey did nothing in breaking up that hard clay surface down below. What had happened is them rhizomes, those thick rhizomes, and some people call that middle one taproot, right, that we anticipate and expect, and all the other plants do, is burrow down through that clay. Well, these Comfrey plants, all 9 of them, they came down about 6-7 inches and did a 90-degree dogleg turn and grew horizontally and looked amazing, beautiful, healthy, but didn't do a damn thing to contribute to the cause. So I got to thinking about that, Kind of reminds me of a lot of people out there, and maybe some adolescent kids. They just have everything given to them, just like I did this Comfrey. It had no motivation, no reason, no desire to burrow down and break up that clay, because I brought everything in here from a nutritional perspective, and all the microbial inputs that I had put out here, and it had everything it needed, all the moisture, all the nutrients, and it didn't have to work for anything. Unlike all the other Comfrey plants outside of this garden in this hard, rocky clay surface, they have to work for it. If they want moisture and it's not there toward the surface, they got to burrow down and go get it. And the same way with the nutrients. But nope, not this Comfrey. Just like a lot of people out there, right? Do you know anybody like that doesn't have to work for anything? You have somebody like me taking from elsewhere and just delivering it to them freely, continuously, right? And in return, they don't contribute to the cause, to the community, to the neighborhood, to society, or maybe some kids that don't contribute to the family or to the household. They just sit back in expectation. Gimme, 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 gimme. Always wanting to take the path of least resistance, just like my Comfrey did. But I have to accept responsibility because I became an enabler. I encouraged my Comfrey. Just like people like Bernie Sanders, maybe. They do the same thing in our country, in our society. Take from elsewhere and deliver it to them freely for their own causes and their own agendas, and meanwhile those people become accustomed to it and they don't contribute and become a part of the solution, just like my Comfrey did. So that's how it failed me, folks. Please pass it along, share it with other folks. Have a nice day. May all your branches become full of fruit, even you, Fuzzy Wuzzy, and I'll see you next time. Whoa!